New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello there. It's me, yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. Welcome. Hope you're just having a fantastic day. And if you're not, that's okay too. So we'll be together for the next hour. So why don't you make this program for you and about you? Join us, drop a comment or a question into our comment box and be a part of the program today. So back to, yes, your doula for grief, which is me, Bonnie Gonzalez. And a little about me is that I am a grief coach. I'm a registered nurse, a religious science practitioner, and a licensed soul collage facilitator. And if you've listened to me before, you know what my next words are. The most important thing that I am is a human being right here on the planet with you right now. Navigating this thing that we call grief. And the reason that I'm here, the reason that I show up every week here is to help demystify grief. Taking grief out of the shadows of our lives and bringing it right smack dab into the middle of the room, into the middle of our lives. Grief is a human experience. Grief has so much to give us, so much to teach us, so much to show us about ourselves. And I feel that if we're hiding away from that, we're hiding away some of the best parts of ourselves. So I am here to, as I said, to continue to move the needle on making grief a topic, or allowing grief to be a topic that we can discuss comfortably. And I guess I should take a minute here to say, what is loss and what is grief? How does grief and loss go hand in hand? Loss is what we experience, and grief is what we feel. And loss is just defined as any event, expected or unexpected, that happens, and your life can no longer go back to the way it was before. That is what loss is. And that shows up, as we all know, the big teacher of all, the big kahuna, the big mother of all loss is death. Death of a loved one, family, friends. Death is that biggest one. That is the biggest loss that we'll experience in this lifetime. And then that loss, and before I move on, let me not get ahead of myself here. What I was going to say, yes, we honor death and give it its rightful place in our human experience. But we also have other losses. Loss of a job, a divorce, a relationship that ends for whatever reason. Geographical moves that take us away from our everyday lives, our loved ones, our routine, our familiar. Geographical moves. How about aging? That's a big one. aging, um, health issues or health challenges, surgeries that leave our bodies a lot different than it was before. So we just have so many graduations, a promotion. Suddenly you are in a whole different environment that maybe you're not accustomed to. So that's loss. Those are the losses that we can experience. And you could probably add some more to that laundry list of losses. And then grief is what you feel. And grief are those emotions that come up: sadness, anger, confusion, numbness. Yes, you could be even numb. It's like, "Oh, I just don't feel anything," especially in those initial stages of grief. There's a lot of numbness, not knowing what in the world has happened. So that is loss, and that is where grief comes in because of those losses. We go into that place of grief. And I want to today, oh, I want to say this, that whatever the reason that you're in grief, that's okay. We honor whatever the reason. But the most important thing is honoring where you are right now. I always say just don't do grief alone. We are social creatures. We need each other. You may not be a people person per se, but you do need that human interaction. And Bell Hooks says it so beautifully that we cannot heal in isolation. And Subon Fu Somé goes on to say that the way of moving through grief in the African tradition that where she's from or was from, that when grief finds one person, it's not like, oh, Bonnie's in grief. It's a communal thing, a communal emotion or experience in that culture. And they say that not just Bonnie's in grief, but grief has found us. Because, as I said, that bell hook says we can't heal in isolation. And ways three, I feel there are three vital components and pillars of moving through grief. And one is that grief needs to be heard. Yes, grief needs to be validated, and grief needs to be shared. Those are I'll say, the building blocks of moving through grief and healing from grief. And knowing that grief's superpower is healing. Yes, believe it or not. The very thing that we as humans want to run from is the very thing that we should run to, because that is what will heal us. So that's loss and grief, and knowing how important it is to talk about our grief and to be in communication with each other around our grief. And, we're just at a very special time of the year. It's the holiday season. And I'm sure there's plenty of us that do not want to hear the words happy holidays, or feeling like, oh, do I have to go through that when I'm in this place of grief? And so I want to just give you some tips today on how we can navigate grief. 7 strategies. Our theme is 7 strategies for coping with grief. And I say 7 strategies for coping with grief during the holiday, and not just the holiday, but coping with grief every day. As I said on another program, grief does not take a day off. Grief does not take the holidays off. If anything, send grief an invitation. Yes, you're welcome. Because if you welcome it and know it's there, then you can plan for it. You can have a strategy of how you're going to move through the holidays with your buddy grief. And so We're going to discuss the strategies of grief. And as I said, 7 strategies. And I don't want to overwhelm you or overload you. I'll just go slowly. And if you want to, grab a pen and pencil, a pen and pencil, pen or pencil, and a piece of paper, and take some notes that you can refer back to or pass on to someone that you know that is in grief, that would be wonderful. We'll take a break in just a few minutes, but I just want to say this is the holiday season. And a couple things about that, just to know why this could leave you feeling a little tense and overwhelmed. Um, it's because if we're in natural rhythm with nature, this is the time of going inward. The days are shorter, the nights are longer. In most regions, it's colder. So this is the time of going inward, um, self-reflection, self-examination. But instead, we have all these holidays that have been uh, that we've been gifted with. It started out with Halloween, and then most cultures, or especially here, American culture, and I live in Mexico, and there's a little bit of Thanksgiving there because there's so many expats. But Thanksgiving, and then we have Hanukkah, and then there's solstice, and then there's Christmas, there's Kwanzaa, there's New Year's Eve, there's New Year's Day, and if you really want to push it, as I read somewhere, that the Super Bowl is considered a holiday. So we've got a lot going on in our lives. We're suddenly busier than we're naturally inclined to be. The weather's not supporting that. Just the rhythms of the earth are not supporting that right now. So that can really leave you feeling, really pushed in the out of your element. So just know that sometimes it's not about a cure, it's not about a magic potion. Sometimes it's just awareness that can bring about that healing balm or remove the anxiety. Just being aware, awareness, having it witnessed, speaking to it, those are the ways that we can move um, through our grief at this time. And I always say, just learning to lean into grief. And what do I mean by that? Grief is uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. Grief is uncomfortable. It's intense. It's challenging. But you have what it takes to survive. Grief will not pull you under like that current, pull you under and drown. That is not true. It feels like that may happen. But if you can lean into those feelings, and what I mean by that is just feel it. It today, if it's only for 1 minute, tomorrow 2 minutes, maybe in a week before you know it, you can really let those feelings come and have its way with you. And when it goes, it's like that wave that goes back out. It takes that energy of whatever you may be feeling as far as sadness and grief and emotions that way, takes it away as well. So it comes up to come out. So I want to just take a break and then come back and start with our 7 strategies of grief. So take a minute, grab a pencil, a piece of paper. Let's take notes. Oh, before we go away, Joe, I want to say this. If you know someone that's in grief, if you know someone that's had a tremendous loss in their life right now, or over a period of time, maybe multiple losses, reach out. You be the person to reach out. And if you're saying reach out, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, you don't have to say anything. Or you could just say just that. I don't know what to say. I wish there were words that I could use to allow you to feel better. But I'm here for you. That's a beautiful statement from Thich Nhat Hanh. He says that the most loving and kind thing that we can say to anyone and really mean it is, I am here for you. So that is what you could say if you're at a loss. I am here for you. So with that, we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back, I promise. And we will talk about the 7 strategies of coping with grief during the holiday or coping with grief any day. I'll be right back.
New Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Nahmod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, welcome back. Do you have your pen and pencil? Why? If not, that's okay too. You can just watch a replay and play it back. So as I promised, we're going to discuss 7 strategies for coping with grief. And as I've said, grief, it's a major loss that affects us both emotionally and physically. While there are no easy answers or quick fixes to relieve the pain, there are steps you can take to take care of your mind and your body during this process. So the first strategy is feel your feelings. Have you heard that before? If you haven't, I'm here to let you know that you have every right to feel your feelings. It's important that you do not hide your feelings of grief, even though grief may feel uncomfortable or even frightening. Some people describe their experience as riding a wave, as the wave of feelings flow over you. You lean into it and you ride it out. This will move the healing process along. Feeling and experiencing your feelings fully will help you avoid complications, such as depression, substance abuse, or other health problems. And that is a truth that deep held emotions of grief can lead to illness. And I've had guests on the show that have talked about it. There was one person that knows because they held on to their grief and it was unexpressed, they developed a brain tumor. Another person I know developed, chronic pancreatitis. And I love what Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. And now that I'm here saying this, that it's okay to feel that grief, there's no need to suppress it any longer. And what I was going to say, it's wonderful when you have support to help you with those feelings. If you're feeling the need that, wow, I'm really terrified of doing this alone. Reach out. There's grief support groups. There's coaches and counselors. I'm a grief coach. I'm available. I know there are other psychotherapists. There are other modalities of helping people move through grief. So know that that is number one, is to feel your feelings. Don't shy away from them. Oh, and talking about leading to health issues and also substance abuse. Substance abuse can easily come up when we're trying to suppress our feelings of grief. Self-medicating. And we think about those vices, alcohol, drugs, but also food. That can be an addiction. That can that can be an unhealthy way. Some people talk about eating your feelings. Try not to eat your feelings. Try to just express your feelings. Um, my dad used to say something like, "There's more room out than there is in." So there's more room out there for your feelings than inside of you holding them. And number two is state your feelings. Yes, state your feelings. You might want to write your feelings down in a letter or a journal. It might also help to focus on the good memories rather than the loss. Um, I attended a church service yesterday with Reverend Joan Stedman. I'm here in Oakland right now for a little bit, for a few more minutes. And at Agape Center in Oakland, Agape of the Bay Area, I believe is what it's called. It was just so wonderful for her to express exactly what I'm saying about stating your feelings. She said, yes, it's okay to write down. Um, I was just thinking of the example that she was using. She was saying it's okay to say, yeah, there's no money in the bank account, and I'm afraid. And something about writing or speaking it, writing it down, takes the energy off of it, the charge. It's like that awareness again, what I talked about in the opening, being aware. So being aware what you're feeling is just, you can state it, you can write it down. Yes, you're a step ahead because then you're aware of it, you can have it witnessed, and it takes some of that charge off of those emotions when we write it down. Write it down and speak it. And I don't know if you journal. Journaling for me is always a good way of seeing what's there, seeing it from a distance. It's like I got it up and out, and there it is outside, and I can see it with a new lens. Excuse me. I can see it with a new lens. Oh, and also, um, I don't want to put a pretty bow on it by saying jump right into thinking of the good times and falling into gratitude. Yes, we can do all of that. We can fall into gratitude. We can jump into the good times, remembering the good times. But first, let's honor those feelings that weren't so pleasant first. And then, because if we can honor those feelings, then when we move on to remembering the good times, the joy, we can even feel that even more fully because we've given ourselves over to an emotion, and we know what it's like to really lean into something just uncomfortable. And therefore, when you lean into something that is blissful and joyful, wow, blows the roof off. Yes, you're a step closer to being where it is that you desire to be. And number three is get support. Even though you may not feel comfortable asking for help, getting proper support is the best way to move through the grieving process. Lean on family and friends. Join a support group. Talk to a priest or spiritual advisor or a trained grief counselor or therapist. Yes, get support. Ask for what you need. And I know in my own experience, people want to help. People want to be there for each other. And it may be hard initially to ask for help, but once you start asking and getting the response that you desire, it becomes easier. And no, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. I personally was socialized in a culture that said, yes, you should be able to do it alone. People that ask for help are weak or, oh, just a litany of negative things. But I have found out in my own personal experience, yes, initially it was hard to ask for help. And sometimes it's still hard to ask for help. And that's when I tap into, why is it difficult for me to receive? I would be right there for any friend that wanted an ear, that needed an ear or shoulder to cry on. So why is it that I would want to deny someone the opportunity of being there for me? And this I will say, and let's be honest, we know who those people are that we can talk to. We know who they are. And we know the ones that run away from grief and shy away from grief. And we're not judging them. We're not judging them at all. We're talking about you getting what you need. So be mindful of who you're calling on to share when you're in that emotional space. Am I calling that person that is only there when it's time to go to the movies and have fun? Or are we going to a person that really is there and consciously aware of, of emotions or when people are in an emotional state? So I say that, do get support. My tagline, if I have one, it's don't do grief alone. And so that definitely is a truth that I know to be true. Don't do grief alone. When you can share it, it is so much easier. It's so much easier. And passes through in somewhat of a quicker manner. But the whole idea is not just to get to the other side, but to navigate it with ease and grace. Number 4 is participate in the ceremonies and rituals that are part of your religion or belief system. Your culture and rituals affect how you process loss. You may practice a ceremony or ritual to help you acknowledge grief and move through it. Meditating, praying, and surrounding yourself with others who share your beliefs can be a tremendous help. And they're just, especially now, with the holiday seasons upon us, there's so many candle lighting rituals, burning bowls rituals that you can participate in. And the beautiful thing about rituals are that when we create a ritual or participate in a ritual, it gives us that sense of control over what is going on with us in this moment right now. Because that is what grief can rob us of. It's feeling like we're out of control. But there is no control. There's no sanity. There's things just don't make sense. But when we participate in rituals or even create our own ritual, it can give us that sense of, yeah, I got this. I got this. And, a ritual doesn't have to be anything, oh my God, extreme, elaborate. It can be you're simply lighting a candle, choosing a poem that you love. I love Rumi and Hafez. Choosing one of those poems, lighting a candle, reading that, ringing a bell, chanting a mantra. If you're grieving the loss of someone, put their picture out. Make them the focal point of the ritual. Bring them in. When someone dies, yes, there is that physical ending that happens in that moment. There's a physical ending. But did you know that love lives on spiritually and emotionally? Our love grows, even though that person physically is not there. So you can include, if you're grieving the loss of a loved one, you can include them in the ritual. And maybe next week I'll do a little ritual for us to all participate in and celebrate, and a celebration of where we are and celebrating what grief has brought to our lives and how it's opened us up in a way that we would not have been opened before. So that is, participating in ritual and ceremony. And I think maybe we'll stop here for a minute and come back and do the next 3. Maybe what we'll do is just take a break, let you just breathe in. There's been I've said a lot of words. So just give you time to incorporate some of what I've said. So why don't you go get a fresh cup of tea or heat up your tea? You only have a few seconds. So heat up your cup of tea. And if you need a fresh piece of paper, your pen ran out of ink, grab another one. So yes, we'll be back in just a few minutes, okay? We'll be back for the next 3, the last 3 coping strategies.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, welcome back. And did you get a good stretch, during that commercial break, or get a new pen, or warm up your tea or coffee? If not, that's good too. That's okay. I'm just glad you're hanging in and listening. And like I said, these tips, if they don't apply to you, I love that expression, take what you need and leave the rest. But I want you to be able to share it with other people. Because if we can start, just think about it, that if we can start to express our grief and sharing our grief and having it validated, having it heard, we're giving others permission to do the same thing. We're giving them permission to grieve in whatever way they feel is needed. So that's how we bring grief out of the shadows and into our lives. It's by being that example and talking about what it is that you feel. I had a fantastic Thanksgiving. My brother from LA came up, and my sister and I, and it was my brother and his wife, my sister and myself. And we had a wonderful time. We laughed, we joked. It was like, oh my gosh, how much fun we had. But then later that night when they left, it was just so sad, moved to tears, thinking about how small our family is now compared to just 5 years ago when it was rustling and bustling and arguments and all those things that goes along with the holidays. You know how we dread being with family. Well, I don't have to dread that anymore. The family is gone. And even though I had a fantastic time, it did bring up the sadness and the yearning for what was, the yearning for my mother, my brother-in-law, my brother, my sister that have all just left, and I feels like in one fell swoop, gone. And now we're thrust into a different type of celebration that's not familiar. So I say that to just give you permission to say, yeah, you're right. Sometimes when you've had an extremely wonderful time, it can leave you melancholy and sad. But knowing that this too will pass, it's okay because I had a hell of a good time, a hell of a good time, and acknowledging those that I do love that are no longer with us and can honor them with ritual and sweet, warm remembrance. And sometimes you know how it is. If you've had loved ones, it wasn't always so sweet. And that's okay too. You can bring that up as well. You can just be honest in what it is that you're feeling. So, all righty, Joe. So we're going to move to number 5. And number 5 is to prepare for grief triggers. Yeah. Be prepared to be sad on holidays, birthdays, or other milestone days. It might help to know that these feelings are perfectly normal. And as time goes by, you will likely bounce back from your grief triggers more quickly. You may want to plan to spend these days with friends and family. And I spoke to that before I read this one. I forgot that one was there. I think I shared that when I talked about having a fantastic Thanksgiving and then suddenly being in really sadness and tearfulness and yearning for what was. And so now going into Christmas will be the next holiday we celebrate, and I'm not real sure if it's going to be a celebration. I know I've told this story a million times that Christmas was my mom's birthday, and my mom's been gone at 7 years now, and I still have not made that day anything new other than my mother's birthday. I have not created any new tradition or any new ritual. Every year, I just think I'm still feeling, and believe it or not, this is 7 years. I'm still feeling a little numb and in disbelief that she's really gone. It just really hits. It hits home on Christmas Day, and for right now, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not having a tradition. I think what I may do this year is just really make this day about her, um, eating her favorite foods, watching her favorite programs, doing what she loved doing. My mom loved to crochet. Maybe I could even try to crochet for a day. But I'm just saying, it's up to me how I want to prepare for what I know will be a day, a trigger that can bring about some intense feelings of longing. And this is one of those times that I say, prepare. And if you can't prepare alone, get a buddy. I love the idea of having a grief buddy, is what I always call it, a grief buddy. Somebody that you can call when you need to talk, or someone you can say, hey, can you go with me to this party? But I know it's a holiday party and I may get overwhelmed or whatever. Can you help me plan an exit strategy if that happens? Putting them on alert that you'll need their help, and just in case you become overwhelmed or you become triggered, because that's the whole thing about a trigger. You never know when, if and when it's going to happen. You can prepare for it. It may not happen, but it sure is wonderful to have a plan or exit strategy if it does rear its head. So yeah, so plan ahead, plan so that so just plan so that you're not alone. Oh, another plan that I forgot to mention is that, yeah, we're in the middle of the holidays, but you know what? You may want to just take off to Vegas, maybe take off to Death Valley or someplace remote and just not even think about the holidays. And that's okay too. That's okay too, because you are number one right now. You are number one. Okay, so number six, with that said, we'll move on to number six. Avoid pressure to get over it. Many well intended friends or family may tell you to be strong or move on. These statements make your feelings less important and are not helpful. You must move through the grieving process at your own pace to truly recover. Yeah, let's just remove that word from our vocabulary. Let's pretend it doesn't even exist anymore to tell someone to get over something. And I was talking about Subon Fu Somé earlier, about her traditions from her African culture. And she was West African culture. She was also saying that they would never utter the words, get over it, or aren't you over that by now? She says what they would say is, have you cried enough yet? Have you walked in nature enough yet? Have you talked about your grief enough yet? It's because they know that that's how you move through it or move on or get over. There's no getting over, there's getting through. There's moving forward with grief. There's not moving away from grief. And they just have that so right, and feeling that you really need to express your grief so that not only emotionally you heal, but that your body heals also. And I've talked about this before, that grief is so exhausting and tiresome. Next one, but as I said, avoid following or taking seriously when someone says, get over it or move on. And what you could say if someone does say that to you, maybe you could just ask them, can you just accept that this is hard for me? Can you just accept that this is hard for me? That's it. So let's see. Goodness gracious, we're at number 7. And I hope that you've been able to take some of these strategies in. So number 7 is take care of your health. Regular exercise may improve symptoms of grief. It's important to eat a healthy diet, get enough sleep, avoid alcohol and other substances that numb your pain. It will only take longer to heal if you try to numb the pain. And then you run the risk of developing substance abuse issues. We don't want to go there. We're worthy of so much better. We're worthy of just good self-care, good self-love. Love that term that I'm hearing more often is, oh, what is it? Now that I've said that I love it, now it's, um, yeah, loving up on myself, pouring into myself, loving up on me. That just has such a sensuous feeling as well, to say loving on me, loving on me. And some things that we talk about self-care and talking about your health. And I was with Robin and Gil the other day on Rockin' the Love, and talking about the first thing we think about with self-care is a massage. And yes, I love a massage, bring it on, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. Self-care is, how much do you put on your plate? How much do you expect from and of yourself out there giving and doing and being and taking care of? Look at your plate. Can you delegate something? Can you just take something off your plate? Can you leave space around activities? I got invited to an activity and I said, "Oh, I have something, a little bit later." And the person said, "Well, can't you do both? You can do that. You can, do the first one a little bit early and leave that one early and then be a little bit late for the other." And I felt like, if I did all that, I'm not present for either one. So think about it that way. Think about self-care as yourself as a whole. Of course, yes, rest and exercise and food and what you're eating, consuming at this time of the day, at this time of the year. We all know that there's good food out there to partake of this time of the year. A lot of it has to do with sugar, and I don't need to remind you of some of the negative effects of sugar. So I'm going to stay in the light and just say, just eat well, and you know what's good for you. There's a rule of thumb that go ahead and eat what you're going to eat, and then notice how you feel 30 minutes later. Tired and sluggish, angry, tense, that wasn't for you. 30 minutes later, you're still feeling good and happy and ready to move forward, then that's good for you. So those are the 7 strategies for coping with grief on the holiday and every day. And I want to add one more, and I want to just take you through a quick little exercise around it. And I always feel that we have something that's the best strategy, the best coping skill ever. And it's absolutely free. It's easy. We do it all the time without even thinking about it. And that is our breath, to breathe. Just take a minute right now and take a deep breath in. And just exhale and blow it out. Breathing the next breath in with some awareness of how it enters your lungs and how it feels when it exhales, when it leaves your body. Our breath has the ability to bring us back to this moment right here and right now. I know when I'm going through grief, I can get really emotional and crying or feeling just frustrated with anger. But if I stop and take a breath, it brings me back to who I am and where I am. At this moment, this time, this space, right now, right here, everything is perfect and complete. I'm going to teach you, and I think I may have done this before, but it's been a long time, you probably forgot it. It's something called box breathing. And it's something used by the Navy SEALs, that's taught to the Navy SEALs because they're in extremely stressful situations and conditions, and so that they don't spiral out of control or have a psychotic break. It's called, they're taught box breathing. And I think of it like a box, up one side, across the top, down the other side, and across the bottom. And it's just 4 inhalations and 4 exhalations spaced at 4 seconds apart. So I'm just going to show you, or maybe you can do this with me. And we'll just do like 4 cycles of box breathing so you get the hang of it. 4, maybe 5. But if it feels good, well, maybe 6. But it won't be more than that. So just take a moment, sit up straight, roll your shoulders back, knowing whatever has come before this moment is now gone. It's released when you rolled your shoulders back. Feet flat on the floor, back is straight. Just becoming aware of your own body, sitting in a chair. Where are your hands? Are your hands in your lap? You can have your palms up, which means you're open to receive. Or you can turn both palms down, which is a grounding position. Whatever you need in this moment, okay? And we'll just start by just taking a breath in and just blowing it out. So let's start. Deep breath into the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. And just one cleansing breath in. Deep, deep, and exhale. And that is just something that you can do at any time. Anytime you're feeling some unexpected tension, your heart's beating a little faster, your palms are a little sweaty, you're feeling a little on edge, just stop and inhale to the count of 4 and hold to the count of 4. Exhale to the count of 4 and inhale to the count of 4. And do that for several repetitions, 4 or 8. But you'll notice that it breaks that cycle of anxiety that's building. The sooner you can do it, the easier it is to get the cycle broken. So I just really want to thank you today for joining me in our 7 strategies for coping with grief. And you can find me at yourdoulaforgrief.com. If you want to send me an email, you can do Bonnie Gonzalez 14 at Gmail, or you can do Bonnie at yourdoulaforgrief.com. And while I have you here, I want you to know a little bit about New Thought Media Network. And I know that Joe will honor me by putting up the donate sign for New Thought Media Network. And this season, when you're giving and making gifts to charitable causes, New Thought Media is a nonprofit. NTM Media. Thanks, Joe. And donate. Thanks. So, oh goodness, I'm glad you didn't have to just rely on my memory for that. And make a donation so that we can continue to have quality programs and people like Joe who's volunteering. I just want to take this moment to thank my producer, Joe Rothenberg, who is always here with me, helping me, making sure that this happens. Without Joe, there would be no Bonnie, there would be no Doula for Grief. So let's make some donations because, Joe could, we could compensate Joe for all of his time and effort. And I want to say, oh, yes, check out some of the other programs on New Thought Media Network. I was just Joe, can you put up the little calendar? I think there's a calendar of programming. But you can find New Thought Media. I know you can find it on Facebook, New Thought Media Network, and look at that. Look at all the programs that are happening on New Thought Media Network. There is prayer every morning at 8:15 Mountain Time, and there's prayer every evening, 8:15 p.m. Mountain Time. And just want to remind you of some programs. Joy in the Journey, which is Thursdays at, I think it's 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which may be 2 o'clock Mountain, 2 o'clock Mountain Time. And that's with Reverend Gina Kupka. And let's send her some well wishes for speedy recovery and complete health, wholeness, and healing. So also we have, as I said, Rock and Love that comes on Wednesdays, 12 noon Pacific time or 1 p.m. Mountain Time. There's Choice, Your Superpower, which comes on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We have Reverend Jim Webb, who's on Sunday. And oh my gosh, just check out, yes, Reverend Jim Webb on Sundays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 Eastern Standard Time. And the Miracle of Prosperity. And I know this time of the year, we all want prosperity and abundance. So check out Reverend Webb. And Sunday services, when you go to New Thought Media Network, there are, oh gosh, a plethora of congregations. Oh, there you go. Choice, your creative superpower is the same your superpower. So those are just some of the beautiful. Oh, Michael Mangus, yes, Friday fireside chat. He is a riot. He's just a crack up and just so a wealth of information and such an encouraging person. We have Tracy Brown, Poetry Prayer Practice. She's phenomenal. She's been around in CSL and New Thought Movement. Very, very much an encouraging and enlightening being. So I have just enjoyed our time together. And just know that I'm here every Monday. And tell a friend. If you can't be here, you can always watch it on the replay. I have a YouTube channel, and guess what the title of that is? It is Your Doula for Grief. So any episodes that you may have missed, it's right there on YouTube, and I have them labeled as you can look to see what category and what you're looking for and find me on YouTube. So it's just been an honor to be with you today, and my heart's so overjoyed that we could have this time together to just go over those 7 strategies of coping with grief. As I said, first, feel your feelings, state your feelings, get support, participate in ceremonies and rituals that are part of your religion or belief system. Prepare for grief triggers. Avoid pressure to get over it. Take care of your health. So there you have it. From me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. And as I said, I am a grief coach, and I am available for grief coaching. So I just ask you to look in the mirror today, look yourself in the eye, and say, what do I need today? What do I need? Whatever comes up, know that you're so worthy of honoring what you have asked for. So honor that. And again, please don't do grief alone. Thank you, and see you next week. Ciao.